Welcome to Altar. I'm your host, Nicole Meline. This podcast explores the practice of transformation, of growth, as a dance between hustle and flow, altering, changing, growing, becoming, and altering, offering, surrendering, opening to divine conspiracy. It's the dance of the leader, athlete, creator, entrepreneur, committed not just to optimal expression, but to exceptional being. So here are adventures in sweat and divine conspiracy. Awake to all the grit, dirt, and complexity of our world. Alert to the graces that come alongside the struggle, the hustle, encouragement, an infusion of courage for the moments you need it most. I'm your host, Nicole Meline. Welcome to Altar. Hi, friends. Welcome to this beginning of the holiday season, which I want to remind all of us is a run-together word of holy day season. These are the holy days. And we can get so caught up in so much at this time. It's also the end of the year. It's a time of reflection, and it's maybe also a time of panic and scrambling and a sense of all that we need to and want to complete before year's end. And it can also be a very tumultuous time emotionally. We can be surprised by the magnitude of our responses. So in light of all of that, I want to share with you this session that I opened up HIIT with. So my HIIT program, which is my signature course, it's a 28-day journey to refine your relationship to weight and nourishment, to nourish your legacy and your vibrancy. I'm beginning a new live journey through HIIT on November 28th. The doors are still open. You're so welcome to join us. You can learn everything about it at nicolemeline.com/HIIT. And I offered this session early this week to set our HIIT community up for a mindful and sacred holiday season. And I want to share it with you today. So these are 4 principles to make your holidays sacred and delicious and maximally pleasurable and restorative. Before we dive in, I do want to invite you to a few things. First, to join my newsletter at nicolemeline.com. I have a few really special announcements coming up, and I always announce first to the newsletter. And there's some things that I share only with the newsletter to encourage that to be a gathering place for all of us. So that's at nicolemeline.com. I also want to invite you to a special offering that I did on the Altar Together membership called the Gratitude Party. So, of course, you are always welcome to join me in the Altar Together membership for movement and meditation and group mentorship and community. I do new movement practices and rides there. That's at nicolemeline.com/altar. But I also will offer from time to time individual practices for purchase outside of the membership. And I've put together a really special package called the Gratitude Party. And it is 3 practices. It's a ride and a mat practice and a meditation that are designed as ceremonies for you to fully immerse yourself in gratitude and to integrate all of the gifts that you are living in right now. So that is at altar.nicolemeline.com/browse. You can find it there under the individual practices. And I will also link to the Gratitude Party and HIIT and the newsletter sign up here in the show notes. Right before we jump in, I want to share one more gift with you. In this session, I shared a poem from the incredible Irish poet and philosopher John O'Donohue, his beautiful book, The Book of Blessings. And there's one more that I want to give as a frame for you as you enter this week. I talk about in this session the Book of Blessings, so you can listen as I tell you more about this incredible, incredible book. But I want to read for us one more of the poems in this book called For Presence. And you'll see why as you listen to the rest of the session. But I want to give this to us all as an anchor point this week. Awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Receive encouragement when new frontiers beckon. Respond to the call of your gift and the courage to follow its path. Let the flame of anger free you of all falsity. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame. May anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. Be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder. Amen. And let's dive in. Welcome, HIIT family. Oh, from the bottom of my heart, welcome to this journey. It feels so special to be starting this journey this week of the year, Thanksgiving, and leaning into the holiday season. And I want to begin today with this poem by John O'Donohue, which is, there's this beautiful book of his called, the book itself is gorgeous. It's called, you ready? This title is so incredible. To bless the space between us. To bless the space between us. It's kind of a surprising concept, right? Like, can you even visualize that? I actually love even that image as an image to carry with us as we come into gatherings. Or maybe if you're not gathering with family or with friends over this holiday season and you're feeling the ache, you're actually feeling the ache of that space in between you and maybe the kind of community and belonging that you want. Bless it. Bless that space. Bless that ache as the teacher. That's so much of what we're going to explore together in HIIT is blessing and exploring the ache as the teacher. But also, if you are meeting with friends, with family, with whomever, what a beautiful image to carry with us, that you come in first with a blessing of the space in between you. Think about that. Everyone that you're going to meet over the course of this next week and over the course of this holiday season, the space in between you, what is the quality of that? What can you fill and infuse that space with? What kind of magic, what kind of blessing, what quality of presence do you want to bring to the space in between you and whomever you're going to encounter over this season? This whole book is all blessings, and they're blessings for kind of unexpected categories. I just love looking through the table of contents here. So some of these poems, some of these blessings are for a new beginning, in praise of fire, for love in a time of conflict. That might be relevant to many of us this week. For longing, for friendship, for the senses, for a friend on the arrival of illness, as a child enters the world, on meeting a stranger. So I can go on and on. Just the titles of these poems suddenly invite us to think of these kinds of scenarios, such as a friend meeting an illness, as a space of both and, right? A space not just of heartbreak, loss, but also a space of possibility, a space of potential expansion and growth, a space of blessing. So it feels right, both in honor of beginning this journey of HIIT together, the feast of this journey that is ahead of us, and also the feasting that we're going to be engaging over the course of this holiday season. And as I'm going to get into today, we're going to engage feasting in a so much more technicolor, multi-dimensional way than you might have ever thought about it. So more on that in a moment. But first, this sweet blessing that John O'Donohue, this Irish poet, offers for grace before meals. As we begin this meal with grace, so you might think of your Thanksgiving meal, you might think of the whole feast of weighty ahead of you. As we begin this meal with grace, let us become aware of the memory carried inside the food before us, the quiver of the seed awakening in the earth, unfolding in a trust of roots, and slender stems of growth on its voyage toward harvest. The kiss of rain and surge of sun, the innocence of animal soul that never spoke a word, nourished by the earth to become today our food. The work of all the strangers whose hands prepared it, the privilege of wealth and health that enables us to feast and celebrate. So many lines in there that I am awakened by, and particularly the work of all the strangers whose hands prepared it. And what I love about this poem as a blessing before feasting is that it calls us into radical presence, or the way that I want to think about it, the way that I want to throw out to us, rich presence. So I have 4 principles that I want to encourage us in this week and this entire holiday season. Under the banner of understanding the holidays in the truest nature, the oldest nature of the word, holy days. A holiday is a holy day. We've kind of come to run those 2 words together. A holy day, a day set apart. A day set apart for your own ceremony, ritual, your own restoration, your own integration of the time that has passed since you last paused and gathered in this way, and a time of celebration. The holidays as holy days. So first, let's just step out of all of the deluge of Black Friday emails and all of the deluge of to-do lists that you might have in mind and gift lists that you might have in line and longings that are bubbling up in your heart, and just step into the resonance, the frequency of these holidays as holy days. This is a holy day. How do you want to commemorate and celebrate a holy day? 4 principles that I want to throw out to us. The first, and we'll dive into each in just a moment. The first is rich presence. The second is feasting with all 5 senses, or as I like to think of it, technicolor feasting. Bring the vibrancy is principle 3. And fourthly, create ceremony. So I want to walk us through each of those and kind of enrich them. First of all, that kind of attention that poem, that blessing before meals we just read, the kind of attention that calls us to is rich presence. So when I think about a holy day, a day set apart, when I think actually about any moment in my life that has taken on the kind of quality of a spiritual revelation, of like a deep satisfaction, a deep sense of gratitude colliding with vision, any of those delicious moments that you can think of in your life, an incredible encounter with another person, they're moments of rich presence. They're moments that you get lost in. You lose all sense of time because you allow your senses, actually, and this bridges into our next principle, your senses to lead you to a place you could never have imagined going. So I want to challenge us. First of all, just stepping outside of whatever material qualities of the day. I guess what I actually want to say is to step outside of the scale of your celebration, regardless of the scale of your celebration of Thanksgiving, for example, might be you having one day by yourself of not having to do anything, of just being able to rest, to recharge. Beautiful. I bless it. Also knowing it might be full of longing, of desire, of dreams for the kind of gatherings and community you might want, either now or at another time. all the scale that's like one side of the spectrum, and the other scale could be a massive gathering of, many generations of family and friends, and maybe this is actually many years delayed, and so it's going to have that like increased weight and increased to-do list. And in any case, regardless of however it is that you're celebrating this year, I want to challenge us to give ourselves, and of course everyone that we're going to encounter, because this kind of presence is incredibly contagious, give ourselves the gift of a full day of full presence, a full day of full presence. Waking up in the morning and allowing yourself to feel the support of what you slept on last night, to feel the covers on you, to feel the cotton of the sheets, to feel whatever pajamas you're wearing, right? To feel, as you get out of bed, to feel the quality of the floors underneath your feet. And to make that your mission for this day, attention is the doorway to gratitude. The moment that we actually attend, the moment that I just become, and this is where the body leads us. This is where the all five senses can lead us in. The moment that I actually become aware of the softness of the rug that I'm standing on, from the feet to the crown of my head, right? All of the senses that are at work, the quality of light in this room, the quality of the amazing technology that we're using to have this conversation, I can't help but just overflow in gratitude. If you were to take that kind of presence to a meal and to taste every single bite, that's my next challenge for us. Taste every single bite. I think I could almost sum up that's definitely one way of summing up the entire teaching of the course Way Deep, is taste every bite. Let pleasure have its full reign and lead the way, and displace our senses maybe of scarcity, our senses of fear, our senses of shame. Taste every bite. You'll notice we all notice that when we do this, we tend, first of all, not to overindulge. We tend to carry a spirit of celebration and gratitude through our whole entire day, through our preparation for it, through our integration of it. And that kind of presence, I mean, can you just even imagine for a moment encountering another person, maybe in your work or as you're running an errand, encountering another person who is bringing that kind of presence to their day, encountering another human who has the mission of tasting every bite of that day, of feeling every breath, of being radically present. You'll notice also that this kind of presence is probably going to slow us down, right? It's probably going to slow us to the pace of attention and joy and gratitude. What if we moved at the pace of gratitude through this holiday season? What if we move at the pace of attention and presence? So, principle number 1, rich presence to everything that you are in right now, including the challenges of your life. A great gratitude exercise is, yes, first of all, it's going to be easy to think about all the things that you're grateful for. And the minute that we do that, it becomes a flood of a long list, right? But can you also call to mind the heartbreaks of this year, the losses, the right hooks, the rugs pulled out from under you, the unexpected, the illnesses, the injuries? Can you also bring to mind the stuff that's been hard, the stuff that on its surface has not felt like blessing, and see if it's possible to find a both and there? That yes, this can feel like a regret, this can feel like a legitimate loss, this can feel like a heartbreak, and also let me be attentive to what it brought me. What kind of healing has it pushed me into that I wouldn't otherwise have pursued? What kind of expression and creation has it pushed you to that you wouldn't otherwise have maybe had the courage for or felt the urgency for? Who have you met through any of these heartbreaks, any of these losses? So to hold the both and of them in your heart and to allow yourself maybe just the possibility of feeling gratitude for those experiences as well. Rich presence. Number 2 is feasting with all 5 senses. So we think about a feast usually. We think about like a Thanksgiving dinner or a Christmas dinner or a Hanukkah dinner or whatever it is, how a New Year's feast. We think about all of these usually in terms of a meal that we are eating, taste. But I want to challenge us to feast with all of our 5 senses. Just first of all, what would that be like? Can you imagine your Thanksgiving? Can you imagine your, however it is that you're celebrating? Can you imagine it calling all of your senses into this experience? And in so doing, again, that's another way that we're bringing mindfulness into the meal. We're bringing mindfulness into our practices of eating so that it's the doorway out of overconsumption and into mindfulness and celebration and full body pleasure, not just one sense pleasure, but full body, 5 senses, multi-sensory pleasure. Number 2, Number 3, bring the vibrancy. What do I mean? We can often, as we approach the holiday season, we can often find ourselves shifting into a kind of unexpected or subtle passivity. Meaning, and I make the distinction between passivity and receptivity. Receptivity, yes, I want more of it. I want to be more of it. I want to be open-hearted and open-handed. But passivity would be a kind of disengaging from my role as a creator more than a consumer. So we can kind of tend to look to others to create experience, to create a celebration. We can look to, we just kind of tend to have more attention to the external circumstances that are creating a gathering, especially if we're maybe invited to somebody else's house or we're, celebrating in different ways that we're not leading. And I want to challenge us, not necessarily so much to think of it as to be the leader. We want to honor the beautiful work and hard work, good work of hosting that someone is doing. But how can we bring the vibrancy? And I think of this very practically when I think about wanting to avoid overconsumption or just eating in a low vibration way that I'm not going to feel good after a day of, but especially after several days of, or a week of, or a whole holiday season of. One of the kind of proactive ways that we can change that is to be the one who's bringing like a vibrant, beautiful, high vibration food that's what you want to be eating at that gathering. And also that's probably it's often going to be the best dish at the table, right? Who knows, you might turn someone who never has salad or vegetables onto some incredible dish that they would never have imagined and open a whole doorway for them just by being the one to bring like some great high vibration foods for you. That's a totally personal thing, right? We all have different chemistries and different ethics around food, but what is a way of eating for you that is not just about making you feel good, but is also that extra special food that's prepared with ritual and ceremony and love. Bring it. And in the same way, what if you've gone to a gathering before that has felt, I remember growing up feeling kind of depleted after big gatherings where a bunch of people are getting together, and sometimes it's a bunch of people who otherwise don't really know each other that well, but they're all getting together on this one day, right? Maybe it's a big family gathering. And feeling like there was, we're spending this sacred day together, this special day of the year together. And yet there's not intention to it, like feeling like I leave the end of the day and there was no ceremony, there was no ritual, there was no shaping of the experience. So why don't you bring the vibrancy? When you think about the gatherings that you're going to, everything from a hostess gift that you could give, is there something that you could bring the host that would actually help them to shape the whole guest experience to have more meaning and connection? Or could you offer that? Just a very simple way to do this would be conversation prompts. Could you bring, especially if you're hosting, or you could offer to partner with the host in some way? And there's, of course, I mean, we can never go wrong with the simple conversation prompt of, what are you grateful for? You know, what are you grateful for today? Or what are you grateful for this year? But maybe you take that a few layers deeper. What is a challenge that you have experienced this year that was also a doorway to light, that also brought with it a blessing? What an incredible question to really get deep and be able to explore the layers that we're all bringing that oftentimes are disconnected from each other in these kinds of sacred gatherings. Is there some sort of a blessing that you can give? Is there some sort of moment that you can create that provides that gathering center point of ceremony and ritual that makes this holiday a holy day? And lastly, very simply, is create ceremony. So we just kind of explored some ways that you could do that as a group, but I want to actually challenge us to create ceremony for ourselves. These days, these holidays are ancient and complicated, right? Thanksgiving, for example, has a really complicated history. And in thinking through, I think we should all be asking ourselves, given the ethical complexity of this holiday in its connection with Indigenous people and colonialism, I choose to take a both and approach to that, of recognizing, naming, working through the tough challenge of restitution for the dark roots of some of these practices and histories, and also what a beautiful thing to be able to come together on one day that is devoted to gratitude. And we can decide to create new traditions that are both honoring of those that have been dishonored maybe by the traditions that we've inherited, and create traditions that are truly rooted in gratitude for Indigenous wisdom, rooted in gratitude for all of our incredible, weighty calling of caring for the land, of tending the land. To be human is to be a farmer. Whoa, right? What if we really sat with that? To be human is to be a cultivator. To be human is to be a gardener. So all of these holidays are complicated. They might carry personal complexity, light and dark, for you in your own experience of the spiritual traditions and resonance of these holidays, or the historical traditions and resonance. But when you think about at the very, very basic ancient level, a day devoted to gratitude at harvest time, that's what this day of Thanksgiving can be. And that's what some version of it has been for as long as humans can remember. A day of welcoming the light back after it was receding and receding and receding and receding. A day of the possibility of divinity encountering humanity. However it is, a day of, in the Hanukkah tradition, a day of the possibility of the miracle of abundance, exploding our experiences and fear of scarcity. Oil for only one night, then lasting 8. So as you kind of peel back the layers of your own experience of these holidays and ask yourself, what do I want to begin to ritualize at this time of year? What can these holidays mean for my heart my connection with spirit, my own need for moments, days of restoration, ceremony, integration, reflection, looking back on my life, being grateful for all that I have, and letting that circulate generosity in me. As we think about that, just a really important question that sometimes, especially if you're in a host mode or in a parent mode, maybe, which is a host mode, sometimes we can forget to ask and forget to make time for the ceremonies that will actually bring a moment of the sacred, a moment of full divine possibility into our experience. And it's these moments so often that allow us to move through a holiday season feeling full and grateful and full of wonder, and actually starting to expect wonder, to look for wonder, to orient our hearts to be wonderful. What would that moment be for you? What are those moments? What in the past have been the sweet moments for you that have really brought you home to your heart during this time? And they're usually really simple, right? It might be as simple as going for walks through your neighborhood and seeing all of the lights, decorating your house for the first time and actually being someone who's putting out lights in the darkness. I always love to think about holiday decorations that way. And, or just a moment of journaling and reflecting early in the morning or at night with lights and candles on in your house. Maybe it's baking something that you love and really letting that process of baking and cooking be a moving meditation. Maybe it is taking an altar practice. I hope my goal for an altar practice or ride or practice is always that they would be ceremonies. They'd be sweat ceremonies. I actually have a really special Thanksgiving package of both a ride and a mat practice and altar practice I call it the gratitude party and a meditation as well. So I'll link that also to this. But can you think about and block out and put on your calendar the moments, the little micro and grand ceremonies that you want to make sure to prioritize during this time and to allow to be the building blocks of everything else that you do? Rich presents, feasting with all five senses, Technicolor feasting, bringing the vibrancy and creating ceremony. I would love to hear how these 4 practices, if any of these, or if all of them bring you home to your heart, enrich your holiday in some unexpected way. I would really love to hear about it too. You can connect with me on social media at Nicole Meline and let me know. And my friends, I wish you the holiest holidays. I wish you sacred moments of wonder and gratitude and belonging and creativity. So grateful for you. And so grateful to begin this journey of HIIT together through this sacred time. Big love. I would so love to hear how these principles enrich your holiday season this year, and particularly how you're bringing the vibrancy. I want to, again, just encourage you to sign up for my newsletter at NicoleMeline.com for some really special upcoming announcements. I want to especially just say how grateful I am for you, my podcast family. It's such a joy to create these episodes for you, and I love the intimacy that we can find together on this platform. If you love this podcast, will you please rate and review it on whatever platform it is that you listen to it, especially if it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts? That helps it to be found by more like-hearted folks. And I would also really love to hear what topics you would like to hear about on the podcast. So if there's something in particular that you'd love for me to explore, please reach out to me at Nicole@NicoleMeline.com or over social media, Instagram at Nicole Meline, Facebook at Nicole Joy Meline. I'd love to connect with you and hear about the growth edges that you are curious about. So, my friends, I am wishing you holy holidays as we alter together.